Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe. Now introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Gaines, and Ed Mann.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Three Devs and a Maybe. And my name is Michael Budd, and I have been on for a while, and I'm joined by the ever-present Ed Mann. How are you?
Oh, have I missed this?
Have you?
Yes, I have missed this. That was a wrong way of wording that. Oh, how I've missed this. I have missed that introduction. So how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really, really good, thanks. And you?
I am very, very good too, sir. Yes, you're right. It is. I think this is the first episode of the year.
Oh,
so we're 6 months in, but actually 7 months in now. Damn.
Yeah.
But yes, you know, you have been a very busy man, and we have got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the question stick and ask you a bunch of questions now, because firstly, how the devil is the new job going? I'm actually suppose for the audience, kind of, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? Like, you've got a new job.
So I have got a new job. So the last 2 years, I was kind of freelancing for one client, which basically sounds like contracting. So that's what I was doing, and I really enjoyed that experience. But I definitely felt like part of my skill set was suffering because I wasn't working in a team, and just due to the nature of that job basically just meant that I didn't have much time for learning, other than kind of like, you know, what you had to learn really quickly just to survive and get stuff done. So, I wanted to go and work in a team environment. And to be honest with you, obviously, you know, setting aside yourself and Fraser and Lou and that crazy gang, it's been a while since I worked in like a really talented team of developers. So I wanted to go and work with people who are really good. I think that's what I found. So certainly working in a team with probably, I'd say, all senior developers, and all very good level, all much better than me, which is exactly what I wanted. That's not putting myself down, and just recognizing
It means you learn every day, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted a change. I wanted that. I wanted to work in a team. I wanted to go and work with a framework that I'd not used before. I wanted to improve my knowledge of Git, because when you're working by yourself with Git, you don't really, you know, get to grip with all the features. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm predominantly, it's all PHP what I'm doing, really. Again, it's been a big change. The last 2 years I was kind of having to do a bit of the DevOps side of things, whereas now I don't really have any access to any, you know, production servers at all. And any code that I do is basically, put up in a pull request and then merged in when, you know, basically we have a rule where like 2 developers minimum have to review every pull request, which I think is right. And it slows things down a little bit, but I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. It means that you don't end up, you minimize the risk of bad code going into production, and, you know, they just do everything, in my mind, do everything the right way. I mean, I wouldn't ever say the perfect way, because I don't know what that is, but they do it the right way. You know, they've got using Bamboo, and we're using PHP spec, BHAT, dread testing. I think the standard's really good. I've worked at a few places, and I hate to say it, but, you know, you and me both know, like, having worked in agencies, that often the best practices are sacrificed in order to get
more money, quickness, profit. Yep. All of that.
Exactly. So, do you know what? I'm really enjoying it. And I've had had like a pull request that I submitted last week, and must have had about like 30 comments on it. But, you know, they were all fair comments, couldn't complain, and they were constructive. So, yeah, that's what I've gone there to learn. So I can't grumble about that kind of thing.
No, and I think, you know, it's only human nature to feel a little bit kind of like, but as you say, like, as long as it's constructive criticism, and the fact that you get this feedback loop now, With being a one-man band, you just don't, unless you get other people outside to look, but they're not working with you day in, day out. And that must feel great, like to be in an office with a load of people who like-minded, want to learn, happy to share their knowledge, I'm sure. And yeah, like using like new tools and stuff. And the fact then, so you don't deal with any server stuff anymore then. How do you feel about that?
I think the first thing I noticed when I also went into this company was like these guys had really mastered their craft of being PHP developers, or I should say probably more OO developers. But so for me, I'm quite happy not to be getting involved with the server side of things, because whilst it is great to have that experience, like there is that whole expression of jack of all trades, master of none. So I think for me, just to focus in my skill set is really good. There was one day when they were having a problem with the production server, and I was like, I want to go on there, I want to have access. And obviously, they're really tight on who gets on their servers, even internally, which again is absolutely right. So yeah, it's a culture shock. But no, I'm very happy with it, to be honest.
That's cool. So what is the stack then, sir? Like what language? I know you're obviously using PHP, a bit of JavaScript in there.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's quite a strange setup in some respects, but I guess it's quite the modern way, and similar to what I did in the last 2 years, really, where we're really literally just building the back end, and we've got like a big client, and they basically contracted out the front end to one client and the back end to us. So we've basically just created like an application with then an API that they can access, and it strangely works quite well. So yeah, the stack, that's a good question. I mean, really, I only get involved with the PHP side of things, but I know the servers are pretty much traditional kind of LAMP stack, really. So, I mean, the biggest change for me, like I say, has been, well, a couple of the big things, I guess, have been, the framework. So, using Symfony, and
dun dun dun.
They're kind of like diehard Symfony guys, and I think they, in their eyes, Laravel's just for like script kiddies. So we do have, countless arguments about that, but, it's all quite playful. And for me, really, a framework is a framework. And
yeah, exactly. You take and leave them. I definitely don't feel that about Laravel. I'm with you. Laravel is a very good addition to the PHP world.
Oh, definitely. And, having used both now, I can see pros and cons for both. And, quite a lot of times when I want to do something with Symfony and, have to then install a Symfony bundle or whatever, whereas, in Laravel, a lot of things are just like in there ready for you, where you're just literally putting in your, M file, which, mail driver you want to use or whatever. I know because, Symfony has similar things, but, they have to go and install them, which is no real hassle really, but it's a lot skinnier, I guess. I know a lot of the guys at work, they call Laravel bloatware and all the rest, but at the same time, I will never ever accept that putting logic in annotations is good. Like for me, I like it. It's convenient, but I don't see that it's good. But again, like things like the param converters, that kind of stuff is quite nice.
Like, I think that's too much magic. I think there's a limit because it's interesting. So one of the first, debates in Symfony is, where do you put your roots? Are you a, root YAML guy? Are you a, so actually doing annotations with it?
I personally feel like it should be in a YAML file. Where we are, it's all in the controllers.
I agree with that then, though, because I think it's closest to where the action is. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess with that, because obviously, again, another thing I've had to learn is using Storm. And
I'm so glad that you've had to take that, because there was a poll that we did like a year or two ago where you're like, should Mickey learn Storm, give it a chance? You weren't ever going to touch it. You were a Sublime guy all through and through.
But now, because I haven't got a version of Storm on my personal laptop now, I really miss it.
Oh, really? Really? Oh, how the tables have turned.
But I still say, like my machine at work's got like 32 gig of RAM, whereas my MacBook's got 4. So, when I did run like the free, the month's version on Storm on my MacBook, it was a bit slow.
So, what are you using? Are you a Mac at work or Windows?
Yeah, we're Mac. Yeah.
Yes, good.
Got a very nice Mac. And I've gone completely off topic here, but yeah. So I guess with your your roots and stuff in the annotations, and with Storm, it's quite easy to search through and find things. But for me, I like the idea of roots being in one file, so you can just say, just look at this one place and see everything. It swings roundabouts, isn't it, really?
No, I suppose I can understand that logic too. Like, if it's in one place, great. I think what happens, though, is people leak it out between two. So, either you do it in the roots, like you do it in a root YAML file, or you do it always in annotations. So there's like this consistency. And again, with everything, I suppose that is just its consistency. Yeah. So what's kind of like the life cycle, I suppose, or pipeline kind of thing go through then? So you get a feature. Yeah. Did you get a card or ticket or anything? Do you have like a link it board kind of thing going on?
So really good. So again, more tools. It's been great to learn. So we are we're using Jira and Confluence and Bitbucket. All that jazz. So yeah, we get a ticket. We tend to be. I mean, when I started, they kind of just finished a big project, but we're about to start another big project. So, but yeah, we are Scrum, and we have, I would say, a really, really good Scrum Master. I mean, I've not worked in any other Scrum team, so I've got nothing to compare him to. But in my, from my experience so far, I think he does really good job. And
so, what is his role then? Kind of, what does he do as the Scrum Master?
So really, he takes the. He'll have the spec for the whole project, really. And at the moment, we're kind of having this debate about we're trying to persuade the client we want to go agile and not waterfall. So that's an initial debate. But anyway, we're working on the basis we are going to go agile, and essentially, he's dividing up the tasks into stories, and we're very democratic. We'll go through and we'll do the agile poker thing, and we'll weigh up each bit of work in itself, and then he'll organize the sprint, and
sprints, 2-week sprints.
We do 2-week sprints, and we have retrospectives every 2 weeks as well, which are really good. I read the Jeff Sutherland book on Scrum before I started here, and I was anxious to do that kind of thing, so it's great to go and work somewhere that does practice Scrum. But yeah, I just we are very autonomous. We're not really managed very closely, but that's only because we do get the work done, and we are very accurate with what we forecast we'll do. And I don't really get involved with this side of things, but I know our Scrum Master, he does calculate the velocity and all the rest, and he's also.
So what's that then, like velocity and?
So I have minimal knowledge on this, but basically, I think the rough idea is that you can get an idea of the pace of the team. So obviously, with Agile, it's much less about saying, "Oh, this will take 8 hours," and more about saying, "Well, this, whatever way you want to do it." So you could do T-shirt size, or you can do story points. So we've just switched over to story points. We're giving it a go.
And what are story points then? I'm asking all these questions because I am very intrigued.
Sure. So it works very similar to the Fibonacci sequence. And the idea is that these numbers are easier for mental mapping. So, it's, rather than saying, oh, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or whatever, you go through the Fibonacci sequence because it's easier for us to kind of to gauge what something is. And really, I think you have to work to a certain measurement for a while to get a better grasp of it. So like I say, we've only started using story points in the last 2 sprints, and before we were T-shirt size. But I think for anyone who's really just getting in Scrum, T-shirt size is really nice because you can say, well, this is a medium, it's a large. It's really easy to kind of grasp, where the story points is a lot more granular. So there's a lot more scope to define how big a task is, because you can go from 1 to, I can't remember what the highest number is now, but I think it's 20 or something.
Because is that your upper bound then? You're kind of lowering upper bounds for them.
That's it. And you've got a half as well. You've got a story point. So it really does take a little while to get used to, but it works. I think we'll probably stick with the story points. It's working quite well for us at the moment. So yeah, the team I'm working in, again, they've got a really good reputation in the company. They've delivered on time with all their projects, whereas not for any fault of their own, but some of the other teams have struggled with some of the deadlines. So it's great to work in a team that's got that kind of reputation. And hopefully, can help them keep it up.
That's good. And how many people are on the team then?
So at the moment we have got our team is 5 back-end developers, and we do have a front-end developer who does some front-end work.
Who fills out a place.
Yeah. He's a contractor, really nice guy, and done a great job from what I've heard. So we're a pretty small team, but we're going to get a couple more people soon. But I think, as you know, like Scrum teams are meant to be fairly small, and I think there's been proven studies where they've shown that as teams get bigger, they don't necessarily get more efficient.
The pizza size, pizza.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So that's really cool. But as well as Scrum, they are very much. I don't know if this term's politically correct, but like code Nazis, and we're very much PSR2, and nothing will go past Bamboo if it's not PSR2.
So Bamboo is the Atlassian's CI.
CI, yeah, that's it. So it will run all the spec tests, the BHAT tests, all that, and it will also check for PSR2 compliance. So yeah, but again, that's what I wanted, and PHP Storm makes up really easy, and it's got like the Symfony extension thing, hasn't it? And but on top of that, some really bad habits that I've picked up over the years. So things like magic strings. So they very quickly got me out of that. So we use value objects for pretty much everything. I mean, we'll use constants where it's unique. I mean, not necessarily going to use it again and again, but otherwise, everything is a value object. And they also use, do you use, I guess being Symfony man, use devel types?
Devel, what is devel?
Okay. So it is, I was hoping you were going to say all this because I'm proper noob with it, but basically, I mean, everything has a type. So it's like a mapping between your database and your value objects.
Oh, do you use Doctrine?
We do use Doctrine. Yes.
Okay.
Do you not use Doctrine?
No. Well, no. We still use for it. So we quite legacy with our RM is Propel,
right.
And we kind of moved away. Like anything we abstract, like using repositories or anything, kind of either like vanilla SQL, or it will be wrapping something in Propel that's dealing with it. So we kind of try to move away from using an RM.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, that takes a bit getting used to. And the other thing is, I mean, our seniors are really, really into their design patterns. And this isn't a design pattern, but we use CQRS and event sourcing.
Yeah, I remember you saying that over WhatsApp. So how have you found that?
Still getting my head around it, to be honest with you. I mean,
enjoying Greg Young's videos and whatnot on it. Yeah,
exactly. So I watched a few of those in the first few weeks, like trying to get my head around it. And I mean, like the idea behind it, I can understand, but like some of the implementation. So we use a PHP package called Broadway. So it's just a different way of thinking and getting your head around that. But ultimately, I really think it makes sense. And certainly like in one of the Greg Young videos, it talks about, well, if you think of a bank, how worried would you be if say every time you took some cash out of the bank, they just updated the table to say, oh, your balance is now this, without any, log of what happened during that transaction. And certainly the work that we're in, because we're working within the insurance industry, it just makes complete sense. So
it is interesting, actually, because I've been of that ilk for a long time now. The event source model is great, log everything, do projections on it. Yeah. But when GDPR happened, it is an interesting thing because you are now logging, even though, say like, okay, I just want to, the idea of just editing, say, someone's name in the database, that should be it. You're done, Maybe you've got backups that you can remove and clear. You can then say, yes, I've got rid of it. But you never get rid of it in the event source model. So there has to be this way of essentially being able to change history for this kind of use case, I guess. I'm sure people have had this issue with the fact of using kind of event storming and stuff.
Well, I don't know anything about this, but I've heard people talking about like like anonymizing data to get around that.
That's yes, but I suppose you have to then still rewrite history because of the fact that you'd have to then anonymize it. But it is interesting where it is obviously this idea of log everything, store everything, project on it is great up until the point where legal comes in and says we need to get rid of this, and you're like, oh crap, I did not, my domain did not map that idea.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is, with like the GDPR thing, it's like there's all these like rules, and then there's like one rule that says, oh yeah, but you can bypass everything if you've got a legitimate business need. And there are loads of companies that aren't doing anything and are just saying, well, yeah, we've got a legitimate business need. And I went to a whole talk on GDPR, and a guy said about this clause, and he was like saying, well, we don't know what that means until we get the case law, until we actually get things going to court or getting companies get in trouble with the ICO. We don't know what that means. So GDPR I completely agree with, and I think it's an absolutely brilliant thing, but I'm interested to see how
exactly, well, this is it, isn't it, how it will actually shape up and when these first cases will happen, and that's the real test of it, isn't it, I guess? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. But it sounds like you're having a whale of a time, dude, and I'm really happy for you. It sounds like you're doing a lot of interesting stuff there. What has been for you, kind of, because I know you were saying on the training stuff you're learning Kotlin and stuff. Like, what for you has been, and obviously you got CQRS, but for you, what's been the major kind of learning block for you, like learning experience?
That's really interesting. For me, I guess it's been less about new knowledge and more about the craftsmanship and tidying things up. Now, I look back at my code that I've done in the last 2 years now, and I think, oh, that's really, it's really not tidy at all. And I'm being polite here. But so for me, tightening all that up, really, really getting down to using design patterns correctly. Everything we do now is kind of strategy pattern, and we all our type hinting is to interfaces and not concrete classes, all that kind of stuff. And even before, I'm trying to think, like when I started this project, whether type hinting was even out. I think maybe it was just coming out, and certainly no return type hinting was around. So whereas now, like, I use it all the time, and before it was kind of like, I just sort of started adding it into the project here and there. So I think with the type hinting now and the return types, it's funny, isn't it? Because I feel like we're going more and more like down the Java route.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? The language, I am definitely a proponent of it too, though, because it adds, you can get rid of a lot of PHP doc comments based on the fact now that a lot of it was just to try and, specify types. And if you can do that, that's actually runnable code. It's runnable, documentation essentially, because, it's telling, what the function should be doing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, like I say, really, I think whatever team you work in, you try and improve your strengths to suit the team you're in. So like I said, those guys are really, really hot on their design patterns, and just little things really, like, just we don't really use vanilla arrays unless we really have to. So everything's a collection if we can. And it's just the readability of collections is obviously far superior to, like a for each loop, especially when you've got like nested for each loops, that kind of thing. So I think that's been the biggest thing for me is style rather than actual knowledge. But the knowledge I have had has been quite specific, I think, to tooling and frameworks. So, but yeah, I just love working in a team where I know that the people around me are vastly better than I am. And that's just, to me, it is that whole thing of you want to be the smallest fish in the bowl, right?
Hell yes, sir. Completely concur with that. And it's just a great, because you're able just to suck up as much knowledge as you can.
Exactly. But anyway, enough about my boring life.
Oh, yeah, your life's boring, sir. You're a jam-packed man.
Jam-packed man. I like it. Have you announced on the podcast about your engagement? Has that been...
Oh, you just blew it there, mate. Wow. That's one way of doing it. No, I'm joking.
No, I don't even know yet, right?
Well, because it's weird, because we haven't done one of these podcasts the whole year.
Yeah.
A lot's happening this year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, obviously you've, new job. Yes. You've got a new little one on the way. Yes. I'm ruining exactly. You tell him my engagement. I'm going to break that news now. Yeah, I got engaged, which is all very cool. Hated keeping secrets. Never going to do the secret thing again. That's just, I don't know how people become secret agents and stuff, because I don't know how I did it. Like, I swear, I thought she knew, but she didn't, and
Really?
that bamboozles me. Before that, did a marathon, my first marathon, which was very cool, very, very exciting. And I'll be planning to do another marathon next year. On another note, Fraser smashed another Ironman I saw on Instagram.
Did he?
Which is insane in Nice, because that's what he does.
He is just like the Tony Stark of
development. He is the Tony Stark. Yeah, he really is, isn't he? So badass.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite Avenger, by the way?
Do you know what? I'm going to anger a lot of listeners. I don't really...
You're a freaking Iron Man, aren't you?
I'm not really into it.
What?
Not really. I've watched a few.
Oh, my God. I actually thought you'd be...
No.
Wow, all right. Well, that wasn't the answer I was expecting.
Let you down, haven't I?
Oh, you've really...
Not Captain America. Not really into him. Iron Man, no. Give me some others.
Thor.
No,
I love Thor. Badass Thor now.
No, not into him.
Well, all right. I guess you're a freaking Hawkeye or something, aren't you? I knew it. You're the Hawkeye man.
I loved the old, the Batman movies with not
Christian Bale.
Affleck. Yes, Christian Bale. They were.
Oh yeah, not Ben Affleck. Yeah, definitely not. He cannot be a superhero. He cannot play a superhero. But yeah, no, I do agree. Christian Bale, definitely well up there. Yeah. Oh dear, we were going all over.
We went off piece there, didn't we? Yeah,
we did a little bit, but this is good. This is a good catch up. Yeah, no, so I got engaged, did a marathon, and yeah, just work wise, things are just it's kind of going really well. Really enjoying the SRE role, learning lots of stuff. Couple of bits actually, I thought I'd bring up actually today. So one thing I've been doing, I don't know if I spoke about it at all before Christmas, but I was looking into serverless a lot, and I was looking into trying to touch up on, because the thing is, me doing a lot more of the kind of DevOpsy role stuff, I don't get to do much programming or like building new stuff. So especially in the front end side. So I still enjoy looking at React, building stuff with Redux and all that fun stuff. So I thought I'd kind of build a contrived project that would allow me to essentially do something from start to finish, taking advantage of serverless, AWS Lambda and whatnot, and all of the AWS host of different services it has to offer. So essentially, I made this thing called Mince Pie Challenge, and I've got a blog post series that's 4 in, I think now I am, and it's called Building a Serverless RESTful API and React Client. Essentially, what it will go through is it started to go through. Sorry, so I'm going on with the API stuff at the moment. It'll go through building a HAL API, designing it with RAML and everything. It goes up with setting up the serverless framework with Webpack and Babel, and also Docker. So everything on the client side is all Dockerized. So everything you boot up is Dockerized. The serverless, the React, create React app and whatnot. So you just don't have any dependencies on your machine. It's all through Docker. And then I'm going through using Amazon Cognito, which I know you had a little play with in a project yourself. Yeah. And then I'm slowly now moving on to adding Flow into the project and whatnot. And then eventually I'll go into the React client. So I've actually spec'd out and built this stuff in GitHub. So I'll put that in the show notes, the 2 different apps. They will change eventually over time as things change. Literally, you make something 1 month and then the next month it's completely different the way you can do it, and you've new improved practices. So kind of what I'm doing is it's set in stone once I've written the article on it. So I'm 4 deep into the articles and I'm really enjoying doing them. Actually, that was one of my OKRs, personal OKRs I had, which was to write more blog posts. And I'm really enjoying doing that and kind of putting down on paper my thoughts and my design choices and whatnot. So that's been a lot of fun. And another thing actually with the Mince Pie Challenge kind of twist. So everyone's hot on crypto. Everyone loves cryptocurrencies and whatnot. I wanted to build a DApp or decentralized, application on the Ethereum blockchain. So I was really interested in the idea of, being a developer and kind of developing things for this. So what I've essentially made is a distributed, decentralized, Mince Pie Challenge app, which essentially you store your mince pies on the blockchain and you rate them rate them. So it's all secure and it's on the blockchain. It was a lot of fun. I put that in the show notes as well as a GitHub repo of that. I use Truffle, which is this JavaScript framework essentially for managing, testing and deploying these Ethereum Solidity contracts, which is quite interesting learning Solidity. It's a very simple language. It's Turing complete. It's really easy to understand, get to grasp with. But, you have to be very careful about how much work you do on there because obviously Ethereum with its EVM, it costs a lot of money to do operations or certain operations and stuff. So you have to be careful what bits you actually chuck onto the blockchain as opposed to trying to do offline. I use IPFS to store the image uploads. And so again, that's a decentralized network. IPFS is the interplanetary file system. So the idea of it being that everything's hashed. So all your files essentially are the content of them, the hash of them is the actual location of them. So the being that, at the moment, the internet, although it is very reliable, that you can break networks up and stuff. If certain resources go down, they are lost in the ether. There's so many websites that are broken, because or gone now or vanish. The idea here being that, we all is a peer-to-peer network, IPFS, and you'll be able to browse the internet and stuff in this IPFS manner. And you'll be able to essentially be downloading stuff from different areas, from different people, maybe based on geographic location, proximity and whatnot, and it'd be quicker and more reliable. I don't think I'm giving it a good service, but I definitely put stuff in the show notes about IPFS. Yeah. And then finally, it's used in Web3, which is this is the cool thing. So Web3.js is essentially the bindings that you can use in JavaScript in the browser to actually interact with the Ethereum blockchain. So you can easily then do like contract calls and stuff in your browser. And this is where you get things like CryptoKitties and things like that, which are all these fun apps that have happened and spawned off. But it's been really interesting, like developing kind of a blockchain application using Ganache for like personal blockchain and the client and whatnot. And it's been really, really interesting. Definitely recommend it. To kind of see what's going on, and like building up from the hype and everything. It's nice to kind of see, like how you would go about doing something like that because as developers, we like to tinker.
I want your brain, man. And I'm going to get it.
Dude, are you kidding, man? You're going through some interesting stuff, man. You've got some so cool things going on.
It's not even on the same spectrum as what you are.
Kidding me. I'm loving it, man. I don't know anything about Scrum and stuff. I don't think I've ever done. No, I don't. I have never done a sprint. Because when I started at my builder, I don't think we were actually doing sprints. So no, I'm definitely admirable and kind of envy the interesting stuff and that what you're doing at the moment.
But anyway, I don't think I've spoken to you since you did your marathon, to be honest with you, which is pretty bad because that was a while ago, right? It
was like early April. But yeah, no, it went really well. The last couple of miles, they're right. It does hurt for sure. I'll give you that. But it's worth it. And the training is, it's all about the training. It pales into comparison to what Fraser does. And I have no idea how he does it because once I'd done the marathon, I thought he'd done this after running and, after cycling and, swimming X amount of miles. And I'm like, how? That's me. Yeah. My limit. I was thinking ultras and stuff. I was kind of in my head beforehand going, I really enjoyed the training and see how it goes. Maybe I'll do ultras in the future, like maybe I'll start, because ultra, upping it from the 26.2, getting a bit more in it. Nah, my limit is 26.2. I know that now. That's where my body and my mind even was like, that's all you're getting. I wasn't enjoying it. Like, I think at the last mile, I was like, I'm not enjoying this until the end when I saw Amy and I was like, okay, now I am enjoying it. This is the end. But It is interesting how your mind goes. I was just like, no, thanks, mate. I'd literally loaded up my iPhone with a boatload of podcasts. So I just whole thing. Oh yeah, that's how I got there. I was just like podcast. And up until the end where then I was like, all right, I need a little bit of motivational music now. So I was just going through my podcast. It was great, I was smashing through them. I think I smashed through like 6 podcasts.
I'm amazed. I thought you'd have something like, I don't know, Limp Bizkit all the way through or something.
Well, this is my when I first started running and then started playing around with the idea of doing even halves, I started doing that. But I found that my speed would fluctuate based on the music I was listening to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a consistent pace. But if I was listening to podcasts, it was just that constant something to listen to, something to stimulate my brain while I'm doing something else. And it actually worked a lot better. And actually it made me enjoy going out for that regard, because then I was able to like smash through books and all these things that I wanted to do. Like podcast is very much a thing you want to be doing it or listening to a podcast while you're out doing something or getting A to B. Podcasts are great for that and audiobooks are great for that. So, kind of putting yourself in a setting like running is a great way of just being able to get, take advantage. And now I've got a backlog of podcasts I've got to listen to. So I've started back up the running again. I'm only doing 6 miles or so kind of week.
Only, yeah.
But push it. Are you kidding me, man? Well, we were hoping to, I think that may be out dead in the water, but hoping to do a half marathon this summer. You're a very busy man. You've got a little one on the way. There's no chance of that, I don't think. But, get a 10K in or something,
I'll get my people to talk to your people and we'll still can arrange. But
oh, man. Oh, dear.
But yeah, I'm jumping all over the place. But Lambda. So
yes.
I use that because I decided I wanted to make like a Slack app. Nothing serious, but just for a little bit of giggles, really. So I just made it's quite nice with Slack apps because you literally just say, well, this command, and then calls this endpoint. Just make a post request, and you get the return.
And Lambda's the best for that because it's just event driven. You don't pay for it unless it's being used.
Exactly. So that's what I did, and it worked really nice. It's really nice, that sort of thing. So just got a little Slack app, and it's just got it's got a blame command, and it'll just randomly generate a developer to blame for whatever.
That's cool.
And, a tea command will say if it's time for tea or not, which is very, very English. But it's very good for that kind of thing.
That's good. Have you released this? Is this on your Bitbucket?
No, this is just private for Viper where I'm working. So
that's cool. Though I'm glad you. So, do you enjoy Lambda then? Do you like the serverless methodology, the approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was you who introduced me to it, and I used it obviously on the freelance project in the end. So just for handling the very first sort of entry point where we were receiving requests and then putting it onto a queue. Mm-hmm. So for that kind of stuff, it's really, really nice that you don't have to worry about.
Tell you one thing now you will like, or not like, I don't know, depending if you're doing a lot of work on it now. So SQS has just released the ability to now essentially push onto So as one of the events that you can get into Lambda now is an SQS event. So instead of polling, it will actually, if it's something on the queue, it will push it immediately to a Lambda function. So essentially, you don't have to have workers polling all the time anymore. You can just have this async flow, this event-driven flow, where, say 10 items come onto the queue, 10 workers are spawned up, or however many you want to limit it to. So you just don't ever have to worry about this concept of polling and all that fun stuff. I know you were playing around with that. Again, this is one thing that Amazon do greatly, which is you figure out a solution based on the current, kind of constraints, and then they take away that constraint because they're lovely people, but then they're make you think, well, all that code I just wrote is a bit redundant.
Yeah, they are very good at understanding developers, I have to say.
Are you AWS based at your work, or are you?
No, but I think they are certainly looking.
So are they currently dedicated machines?
Yeah, that's it. So, but I know they are looking to move over to more cloud-based infrastructure. So I'm sure that's going to happen over the next year. But like I said, I just don't really get involved with it.
Man, do you miss that though? It'd be interesting. I'm sure you can get yourself into that stuff if you wanted to. I suppose this is it though. Do you actually miss it in that regard? Because I know obviously you were more of a back-end engineer. You enjoyed PHP and that kind of stuff as opposed to the front-end stuff. But missing out on also the DevOps role as well.
I've got to be honest. I mean, I'm not missing it at the moment, just because I did find it hard to deliver something that was really good. Both on the DevOps side of things and at the application layer, because just it always felt like I was chasing my tail, and no matter how much I tried to make things that they were automated and self-managing. So, on the servers themselves, I was using supervisor and all that kind of stuff, but it just felt like something was always trying to bite you in the behind and drag you back. So it's I don't know, it's quite liberating just to say, look, go and
that's your problem. Code. This is my problem. Yeah, no, I can understand that, and it makes you then better at dealing with your problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me the same question in 2 years' time, I think I probably would say to you, I'm itching to get my fingers back on. But also, I say that in 2 years' time, what will be the natural kind of environment? I mean, say it's
all going to be serverless, man. It's all going to be containers. Yeah, you aren't going to be dealing with any of that stuff. I've been looking a lot into Kubernetes and Docker and stuff like that, and it's kind of the progression is an EC2 instance you manage, then you go into containerization where you break up an application and different responsibilities into a load of containers. then you just say, I don't want to deal with any infrastructure. I want serverless, and I just want you to deal with my functions. And if they're providing stuff, I mean, like the SQS approach, like think of all the code and all the infrastructure you had to provision and maintain and write for dealing with queuing systems. And now that's gone because you now have an SQS. So you have a Lambda that adds it, like, so you have an endpoint that will add it to an SQS queue, which will then trigger off a Lambda, which is the worker queue, which is the worker action of that flow. It's just crazy. There's nothing there that you need to deal with. You deal with the bits and you plug them together, and AWS deals with all the hard stuff. It's insane. Like this kind of a way to be able to build up applications now and different, infrastructures.
Yeah. I mean, you can't argue with that, can you? It seems like it's going in the right way. So yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, Docker again is something that I would like to learn. And I started looking at a few tutorials just a couple of weeks ago. But it is tricky, and it's in my nature to kind of spread myself a little bit too thin. And I have been reading it's quite an old book, but the Head First Design Patterns book.
Oh yeah, are you enjoying that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think I tried reading the Gang of Four book years ago, and it was really heavy. And I think I started trying to read it too soon in my development career. Whereas the Head First book is a lot more easy to digest, and obviously because of the nature of the way that the Head First books work, they try and obviously exercise different parts of your brain. I do find it a lot easier to take in. But that said, I've been reading it for maybe 6 weeks, and I think I've just got to 49% the way through. I've got it on my Kindle. But yeah, I do think it's very good.
A book like that, though, it's not about how quick. I mean, these aren't books that you for speed. These are books for digest. And
exactly.
The amount of time it takes to digest something is so different in so many different ways. One thing you'll pick up quickly, and the other thing it will take you a little while. Your brain doesn't, it doesn't work that way as opposed to speed reading and things. So I definitely wouldn't say 49% is bad. I think it's good that you're kind of taking the time to properly, just digest it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. The fact that it's all in Java is
brings you back to your uni days.
My uni days, absolutely, yeah. So but like I say, some of them do require a lot of time just to sit back and think about it. And I mean, even today, I was reading about the composite pattern, and I was like, I just had to really pause and just reread the page a couple of times and just really let it sink in. So. So yeah, I
like that though, man. I like the fact of going back to fundamentals. I think that's such a good way to be. A lot of things change and get hyped up throughout the years. Every year, there's always something new. There's always a buzz. But these fundamentals stay. OO patterns and things like that are fundamentals built, from years of work, and also have been around for years, and they're fundamental for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of times I struggle with it. There's so much I want to learn, and I never know really what order to learn it in. And, like I say, especially when you've got children, it just gets harder and harder.
And you're a big kid yourself. That doesn't help, Michael. Bud.
Yeah, that's it. And also, I'm going to, said to you guys that I bought that Raspberry Pi for Christmas, or got a Raspberry Pi for Christmas for the electronics kit, and I haven't touched it. It's really upsetting, but
you'll find some time. I think, as you say, life is good. There's so much to do, and you say you're on a train now. I think, how long are you on a train for each day?
55 minutes if the trains are on time, and
on time. That's in total.
Yeah, 55 minutes in the morning, 55 minutes.
Right, so you have about an hour and 45 minutes or whatever to kind of proper do some learning and stuff. And I think you're doing the right thing, getting a book out, and or just chilling as well, because sometimes it's just nice to relax.
It is hard. At the end of the day, my head is just
you don't want to be thinking, hell no.
I don't, but I just force myself to do it. I just think, well, if I can read my Kindle on the train there or the train back, and then do some coding on the laptop, if I can get internet, then just keep forcing myself to do it. I kind of just want to learn as much as I can over the next couple of years.
I admire you, sir, mate. Constantly learning. That's the way to be.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, obviously you've been busy with the Mince Pie Challenge, but you've been learning anything else?
Well, there's one thing that came up this week, actually, and it's interesting, actually, because it came up in conjunction with a PHP PHP round table kind of discussion called Secret Secrets. What was
Right.
that thing? It was Secret Secrets Are No Fun. And it had a good friend of the show, Scott Azuski, on. So Scott was talking with a bunch of other people about how to handle secrets in your application. Secrets being database secrets, database passwords, API keys, and whatnot. And it is a very interesting topic. How do you deal with them? How do you split them out? Do you break them up into environment variables that get passed in? Where do you store these keys? Do you store them in a repository with the stuff? Do you store them in things like other ways of doing it is like using something like AWS Secrets Manager or a HashiCorp Vault?
Git Secret.
Pardon?
As well. Git Secret as well.
Git Secret. I haven't used Git Secret. What is Git Secret?
I hope I've not just made that up, but I'm pretty sure.
No, you're right. No, a Git Secret is a way to store secrets in a Git repository. No, absolutely. And it's interesting kind of how to deal with this. We've been kind of thinking about some ways and stuff to deal with this. And what we've done is essentially we've kind of gone through the solution simply in the Symfony world. Parameters are king. Parameters are where we store these secrets. What we now do is we actually encrypt these parameters. So we can store them within the master repository, encrypted, and then we then have the decryption key on each of the individual deployment servers, so each of the individual boxes that need them. So what this means then, say like in development, so in the development case, each of the developers can have the secret key. They can unlock it. They can do the compiler pass. They can then decrypt it, be able to run it and everything. But in the case of like live is the only one that needs to know about live is actually those live boxes. So then they'll decrypt there. And I was playing around with these because this was a nice way for me to be able to look into the Sodium extension. So libsodium, again, Scott spoke a lot about this. Who was the forefront of actually getting it into PHP, is a super awesome library for cryptographic kind of primitives and whatnot. And there's two ways of doing encryption. Essentially, you can do asymmetric or symmetric, and it's been fun playing around with the two to actually kind of how to best store these kind of secrets. So the symmetric approach is essentially you have one key, and that key will be used to encrypt and decrypt. So it will be the case where, say, someone would give me something to, I know the secret, and the live server knows the secret. Someone like say a developer wants me to encrypt something to be used in live. They would have to give me the value, the payload they would like to be encrypted. I would then use the key. I'd encrypt it. I'd then store it in the repository. We did the deploy. It would then be decrypted. That's okay. But the asymmetric approach is a really cool way. So this is using private public key encryption. So the essential is you have two keys that are essentially together. What can happen is the public key you can give to anyone. They can then use that key to encrypt some data, which only the private key can actually decrypt. Yeah. So what I've got there then is the ability, and this is the way we've actually gone with it, is that these public keys, so all public keys for staging, live, and also development are all stored in the repository. Everyone can easily encrypt stuff for each individual environment, store it, but it's only then the development boxes, the development users, the staging environment, and then the live environment that can actually decrypt what they need to decrypt. So this way, it kind of gives us, the ideal approach would be to use solely Secrets Manager and solely HashiCorp Vault. And, each one would be pulling them down, etc. But this gives us kind of a way in the middle of being able to encrypt stuff, store it within the repository that everyone has access to, or, the people who need it have access to, and then be able to decrypt it as and when they need it. So, one way I can see this happening, kind of mitigating step, is that what we'd use is HashiCorp Vault or AWS Secrets Manager to pull down the secret, the private key per the environment they're in at the time when we need it. So when we're doing the compiler pass, when we're doing this is what I love about Symfony. There's so many ways of being able to inject into the runtime, into the way it's working. So when we do a compiler pass, essentially, we have the container, because we're building up the container here. So essentially what happens is we build up the container and we say, go through them all. And if you find anything that looks like this, has like ENC : and then whatever it needs to be, decrypt those parameters, those things. And it will do all that magic for you before it creates the cached, container. So it's a very cheap operation because it only happens once when it's been deployed. But yeah, so we could essentially store the secret, in those, the HashiCorp Vault or the Secrets Manager, and then we could pull it down. Or eventually, we'd move to a case where we're actually, bringing them in individually. But it's a really interesting problem because it's about performance as well. Because another way of doing it would be, every call. So it's essentially, you have this application. So every time you want the database password, you have to then do another API call to HashiCorp Vault or Secrets Manager to get it. But with PHP, that has to be run every time you're doing a request. So it really is unperformant to do it that way. So storing it on the, in the build itself is probably as long as it's only stored in that box, at that time, is probably okay. I would love to talk to Scott about this and kind of, talk to a couple of people about this in the security world, whether I'm doing it the right way, but it seems to be an okay solution to it. But it's interesting though, that this kind of sparks up, and then there was a PHP roundtable discussion on it too. It's just one of those things that you kind of take for granted, I think, where you're just like, passwords, but it's like, well, passwords are, if they're plain text, anyone can read them.
Yes.
But on that note, I'd like to say, sir, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show, man. I know that you are super, super busy and very super, super tired at the moment. But yes, we should definitely do this sooner than 6-7 months. But it's been great to catch up. And I'm so glad that you're having a good time at work and that you're getting to learn stuff. And it's just awesome. Yeah, learn. Feel dumb. That's okay. That's a good feeling to feel because it means you're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. It was good to catch up with you, and congratulations for your engagement.
And congratulations on the second baby. This is crazy, bud.
I know.
Crazy times.
Two kids. What was I thinking? No, very excited. Can't wait.
You can't say that because this is, audio, kind
Toby will listen to this.
Toby and, Baby X will listen to this.
No, I love it.
That's right. Keep going back. Yep.
Best thing in the world.
Toby, no, you heard it. You heard what your dad said.
We need to get Daddy Lou on the podcast
We really do. I mean, that's going to be another episode I'm going to try and, pencil in, trying to get Lou and Fraser and Mixter and me all on a pod.
That would be great.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
It'll be anarchy. I love it. All right, then, man. Well, audience, It's been another great episode. As I do say so myself, because I'm every time, And we'll speak to you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.